Wat hadin sans nam tam bag yeng dorbar thawan ke jela Meghalaya kala munjur dak resolution ban dawa nak Sorkar India ban Pyntreikam ya ka inner line permit ILP ha ka jela ka botmu ban te lakam ya ka jingwan rung ker thap ki mender u Dr Mukul sangmau MLA ka All India Trinamool Congress na songsak baru nong ilam kalyang persya ha bakran syakilat pathai kubor ha ka South Regular arja persan ulapan pau ka jing sokhia halor ka jingbam ya chakmat ka jing dawa dak baken no bo menteri rang ba ka jela ukon rat ke sangma la ban pendap ya ka kular ka baula klei hakmat ka yeng bat ki paj ba ka jela u Dr Mukul sangma ulaong bah ka por bo yalam ya ka Sorkar la thau ki lat ki lenti ban wanra ya ka Meghalaya Residents Safety and Security Act MRSSA arjar khanrio kum ka Atiar ban yada na ka jingwan rung ki minder.
We engage with all the concerned civil society organizations, and we try to understand the complexity associated with these whole movement of people, which is associated with the movement of people from other parts of the country to our state, and the possibility of movement of people resulting and culminating into their residing in the state and ultimately adversely affecting our demography. So we had to look at that angle. And we took serious cognizance of this serious issue, and then we tried to find out what are the ways. Then obviously one of the demand was to have ILP, to introduce ILP in the state of Meghalaya, so that through this regulation of movement of people, we will be able to check and balance and ensure that people can't just enter at their will. But obviously, we wanted to be more practical, so I wanted to know also whether it was possible for us to implement ILP. It is not a subject which can be dealt by the state government within the legislative jurisdiction of the state legislature. Therefore, we had to depend on Government of India. But when I tried to find the mind of the people in union government, I knew that we have an uphill task. Therefore, rather than promising people which I cannot implement, I engaged very frankly with our people, with our distinguished citizens representing various civil society organizations to look at other options. And also to understand whether ILP is actually going to be an effective instrument to enable us to achieve the objective of deterring the unregulated flow and movement of people, thereby preventing the likely tendency of residing in the state, thereby defeating the purpose of maintaining our original demography. And that's how the whole engagement started. If this be the concern, can we address this concern? Then we tried to put our cards on the table. Then we started talking. Then we started looking at, can we do something which is within our legislative power, which is within our legislative jurisdiction? And then, that time again, you will recollect, there was one of the judgment from the Honorable High Court by the then Justice S.R. Sen, which again was a judgment which created some issues before the people of the state pertaining to the recognition of the headmen in the state of Meghalaya, particularly Khasil's region, particularly Shillong. So all these things, how we looked at the legislative jurisdiction of our state legislature and tried to put things together and look at our legislative exercise which is within our own domain of state legislature. Then we came up with the possibilities of having effective law which can be an alternative to ILP. And when we looked at the alternative to ILP, we also looked at as to whether we can have an alternative, but which again can be more comprehensive to have better effectivity, better outcome to achieve the objective of controlling the likelihood of unregulated influx further. And then we started, drafting the law. Then everybody somehow contributed. So it was a law where the authors were collective. It was not just that who led the government was the author. we took our responsibility of legislation, but everything, all that is somehow formatted in the these proposed legislations were all collections of ideas within the mandate of the Constitution of India to ensure that we don't overstep our state legislature domain, lest it comes, something which again will be subject to intervention by union government. So you have to understand that there's a union lease, there's a state subject, there's a union subject. So you have to look at whether you are overstepping your whatever domain, legislative domain you have. So it was a very meticulous job put collectively by all concerned, all the stakeholders, and we came up with Meghalaya Resident Safety and Security Act 2016. Now you look at the mandate of the Act. This mandate of the Act was considered as an effective piece of legislation which can address the concern of our people to deal with the possibility of this uncontrolled influx of people from outside the state and illegal immigration, including safety and security of the citizens of the state. Because as you look at, if you read the Act in detail, you will see how overall, if you do not know your neighborhood, I think you should be concerned about your safety, because we must know who is in your neighborhood. All good people, or are there some elements of who belong to some kind of organizations who may be a challenge for the peaceful environment of the neighborhood. All these things are a matter of concern. You are seeing what is happening in USA. USA, who has one of the most stringent law of dealing with illegal immigration, and you try for a visa, do you get easily visa for US or visa for United Kingdom? It is the most difficult job. But at the same time, they have the problem of illegal immigration, problem of demography. The resultant change in demography is the problem globally. So therefore, this law has been designed in such a way that it can actually, to a great extent, handle this problem. And once this proposed piece of legislation was collectively finalized, then we got the approval of the House with the involvement of all the political parties. And we got the assent, and it became an act. So you have the Meghalaya Resident Safety and Security Act 2016. But what has happened? After 2018, when everybody was having this piece of legislation as the weapon to deal with this concern, and based on which we went ahead with all the survey works and all for the railway alignment. That's why you have the Tetalia-Barnihat railway alignment. Earlier the alignment was different also. Then subsequently it was Tetalia-Barnihat. Then from Barnihat beyond, was there no survey done by railway? There was a survey to connect the district capital. But this was all done on good faith, because we all had the trust and faith in this particular act. You remember the members of this August House unanimously adopting the resolution to urge upon Government of India to implement the provision of the relevant act and introduce ILP. What was the assurance given by the Chief Minister at that point of time? The assurance that the Honorable Chief Minister gave to the House was that let us just take the resolution, and the moment we are able to take resolution, we will be able to get it done. That is the assurance. And based on that responsibility which he has taken, I think we trusted, and we also expected that probably many more works which are required before an assurance is given must have already been completed. Based on that, we all came together. You will recollect that every political party, every member of this August House came together, and the resolution that was adopted by this August House was unanimous, based on the assurance. Therefore, this assurance is there, and therefore the fulfillment of the assurance is vested upon him. He should try. He should try. Has he tried? Is he trying? He should tell. He should be frank. But I am perturbed to see that there is no reference to the endeavor and effort, except sometimes, when they are confronted by media. It is more of a reactionary. If something is being done with utmost sincerity and commitment to achieve the objective, then it must be proactive. It can't be reactive. So therefore, I don't blame him for not being able to get the ILP introduced, but then he should pursue. He should pursue. He already has the mandate of the House through that resolution which was adopted unanimously. So that is the mandate. That is the power that has been vested upon him on behalf of the people of the state, based on the situation, based on the circumstances. Now, many people ask me, initially you said no to ILP. Why you are now supporting ILP? Then I say that we have an alternative. Let us try an alternative which is within our own command, which is something which we can, by exercising our legislative power vested upon us by the mandate of the Constitution within the legislative jurisdiction of the state legislature, which we can complete and come up with a piece of legislation to address by having an act which is considered capable of dealing with all these concerns. Today, you look at every section of this Meghalaya Resident Safety and Security Act 2016, you will see that all those sections which deal with issues of regulating the entry and stay of people are designed in order to ensure both security and to regulate people's entry and stay. A much more effective weapon, legislative weapon, legal weapon for the authorities. Rangbas Nongs are empowered by these to regulate, the stay in their own respective neighborhood. It is not just for the whole state. It is not a law which empowers only the authorities under the government, but it also has empowered our traditional institutions, our Rangbas Nongs, because sometimes, when you depend on the authorities under the various departments of the government, sometimes you never know. Political influence may have some ramification on the overall commitment of the concerned officers, authorities under the command, under the government, to compromise in certain cases. We have seen it.
Habatin, pej bahagi kishab plus F.
Ka plus F?
Hakabam bangibam dunaki eki bataye kamet. Namar kata habathiru atau khau kamlu ka umpnyang kadut pej ya kishab plus F haka jingsom. Yaki nutrient kumki vitamin bat ka iron la icon diat bat ka bathau bha kam khta ai ka dur jingki mar bam ka jing mat lani ka rukom shed yaki balehi banai kita kadon ka we ka jing mentoy ba kongsan ka kot ka khia ka nutrition ba kham bha ka jing im ba kham bha pendon kam daki mar bam modon ka sharp plus F menta kasni
Lawan Ra Shafi Lingba ko office jong Commissionerate of Food Safety Meghalaya